Okay, this is my first interview with you, Aideen. Before we talk about the latest news with your campaigning, Aideen, could you tell me a bit about your personal story or history with sticking up for the rights of animals, along with how the Irish Council Against Blood Sports was founded?
Okay, first of all, just I'll tell you about how it was founded. The Irish Council Against Blood Sports was founded in 1966, and among its founder members were well-known actor John Cowley, who everyone will know, well, most people, as Tom Reardon in the Reardons, famous soap opera. And there was another actor from Fair City, and that's when it was founded. And really it was founded that time to assist the international campaign against bullfighting, but then it started to look at our own indigenous blood sports here, and hare coursing was the focus for quite a while, and then fox hunting came into play. So that's when it was founded, and I got involved in the mid-1980s after seeing a program about blood sports on RTE. And that really, I was shocked because it was my first time to see hare coursing. I really didn't know much about it. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, my God, imagine. And that was in the mid-80s. I was shocked that it was allowed in this country. And you know something, Darren? Yeah. Here we are now, and it's 2020, almost 2021, and it's still allowed. I mean, it's just, I thought, this is so shocking. This has to be got rid of. But, I mean, it's just the hold they have over politicians that is amazing. For instance, we got a survey done with Red Sea last September on fox hunting and hare coursing, and the result was 77% of people want hare coursing and fox hunting banned. And we've always known that from other surveys going back to the 70s, it's always been in the majority, as you'd expect from humane people, because the Irish people really are a very humane group of people. But what's the problem here is the way the political system is set up. It's not allowing a free vote. In England, when fox hunting was banned, it was a free vote in 2005. But not here, and it's a rigid system of the whip system, and it shouldn't be applied to things like this, like fox hunting and like social issues like this, hare coursing. And really, if a free vote was allowed, I think you'd have a very different outcome from what we've had. Two bills now to ban hare coursing. There was the late Deputy Tony Gregory's in 1993, and then Maureen O'Sullivan's in 2016. Now, the 1993 brought in muzzling, and that really was a fudge, because I think a lot of people thought, this is going to be a lot better. They're not going to be able to tear the hare apart as they did. But what's happening is hares are being mauled now. They're being pinned down and mauled. And really, from beginning to end, it's a cruel, all of it, from the trapping of hares, catching them in nets, stuffing them in boxes, and the terror that's involved, and the stress. I mean, it's just barbaric that it's still going on. But the muzzling kind of fudged it for a long time. So,
okay.
But now we have another bill.
I was just going to ask you about that. Go ahead, yeah. And you have a national billboard campaign as well at the moment, don't you?
Oh, we have indeed. First of all, Paul Murphy's announced his bill, and that will be coming up, I don't know when, maybe next year in the Dáil. So we're appealing now for them to allow new politics and a free vote on that. And we hopefully that will have a different outcome. Our billboard campaign is, we have about 20 billboards all around the country, and we set up a GoFundMe campaign, and people have been very generous. because billboards aren't cheap, as you can imagine. But we needed to do something. And the billboard says 77% want hair coursing banned, and this is for the politicians to see this and hopefully respond. But the billboard is to highlight it again.
Okay. Do you have any indications, Aideen, whether there will be a free vote allowed amongst the parties in the Dáil?
Well, this is what we're asking for. We're heavily lobbying for this.
Okay.
I mean, they should. 77% want hair coursing banned, but it's not being represented in the Dáil. How come? It's ridiculous. I mean, consistently all down through the years, all the polls on hair coursing have shown a huge majority, more than 2/3 against, and yet that's not reflected in our political system, and it's not representative. It's not democracy, shall I say? They're not allowing democracy to work here, and it's a tiny minority seem to have wielded an awful lot of power. Would you believe that hair coursing is going on now at the moment? They're allowing it. It's just ridiculous. Yesterday I heard on the news, excuse me, the bishops were appealing to the government to allow people to go to Mass. Imagine that. They can't go to Mass. They can't go to their services in the churches. But they can have hair coursing. It's just bizarre. So hair coursing is going on now, be it behind closed doors. This is going to be about, next weekend, at a hair coursing meeting in the Scanner, there's going to be about 144 people at that. 2 people per dog. That's ridiculous. And then people can't go to worship in the church.
And if there was a free vote, there'd probably be a different result as well, wouldn't there?
Oh, it would. Yeah, it would. Because, if you went round and spoke to each of those politicians, you'd find none of them. Very few. There are a few people. There are a few, notably, the likes of Matthew McGrath and the Healy Rays, and a few like that who are pro-coursing. But they're very much in the minority. But the party, I don't know how it comes about that at the parliamentary party they seem to vote to keep hair coursing. I don't know how they arrive at that, given it's such a minority thing. It's so minority.
Okay. How does Ireland stand, Aideen, on these issues in the context of Europe and the Western world in general?
Oh, we're very behind. We're dreadful. We're the only country in these islands. It's banned in England, Scotland, Wales, and our neighbours in Northern Ireland. And here we are, the last bastion of this backwards activity. It's dreadful, and fox hunting as well. It's disgraceful. And I think there's coursing in Pakistan, and this type of coursing in Spain, but really they have a very bad record for animal cruelty in Spain. It's diabolical. You've got bullfighting. So the Spanish have a very, very bad record. However, I want to say that the majority of Spaniards do not approve of bullfighting. But like that, there's a minority who seem to have the power, and they're hanging on to it. I don't know, they have influence, this minority. It's like here and the coursing.
Okay, I've heard that even though fox hunting is banned in Britain, that the police actually turn a blind eye to fox hunting. Is that true, is it?
I wouldn't be too sure of what's going on the ground there, but I do know that the law is being flouted.
Okay.
And there are hunt saboteurs out there trying to save foxes. And really, the saboteurs get a very bad name, but they're doing wonderful work. I would really get behind the saboteurs, because they're operating to save animals' lives, and they're respecting the law. I know they do that. and they're out on the field trying to save animals' lives in a peaceful way. They get a bad hunt from the hunting people.
Apart from outside of Britain, there is some good news abroad occasionally, isn't there, on the issue of animal rights? I think it's just that in Ireland we seem to be a bit slow on the issue.
Very slow, very slow. It's paralytic. It's really everything is pulling and dragging. Like we got 4 farms outlawed, but they're still going on. It's like they're asleep on the job. I don't know. There's a ban on fur farming, but it's not been implemented yet. And God knows how long it would drift on. That's the kind of thing that goes on here. But really, it's in relation to quite a lot of things, not just animal issues. Sadly, they seem to be sleepwalking their way through legislation here in Ireland.
So the legislation about fur farming, is that actually law at the moment? Like, yeah.
I don't know where it's at the moment, but I mean they did agree to ban it. The previous government. So it was brought in by Ruth Coppinger, brought the bill, and then the government agreed to ban it. And now there is other good news apart from that. I mean, it will be banned eventually. It will. I'm sure it will. You have to keep the pressure up all the time. You have to keep at it. Another thing that was banned here is wild animals in circuses, and that was Paul Murphy brought that bill. And then the minister himself just took the initiative and banned it at the time. So wild animals are gone out of circuses now, thankfully. So that's just another thing. That's another achievement. And then in 2010 we got stag hunting banned. That's chasing deer. But unfortunately, there's a loophole in the law that allows them to take out one dog and chase the stag with it. It's dreadful, and that anomaly has to be closed off. And we're campaigning for that at the moment.
Okay.
But really, they're not operating the spirit of the law, the Wild Union Hunt. They're still taking out the deer in a cart, supposedly letting it free and let one dog chase it, and then get a scent around the country, and then let the dogs out after the scent. But I mean, eyewitnesses have seen the full pack in pursuit of the stag in Britain, and that's a breach. But the Ward Union always say, "Oh, that was accidental," and it's very hard to prove. So we really have to get rid of that loophole.
Okay, Aideen, to come towards the end of the interview, do you want to tell our listeners on the FM any more about your work in general with the council over the next few months leading us into next year?
Well, what I'd like to say to people is, please get onto their CDs and say you want hare coursing banned, you want them to support that bill. That's one thing they could do, because it all hinges on this. It all hinges on Dáil Éireann and votes. So if each person could get onto their TD, their local TD, and put pressure on there to get it banned. No, we're going to keep on this the next few months. Maybe there'll be a few more billboard campaigns if we can get the money raised. Keep it going. On fox hunting, we get a billboard campaign up. It's just keep plugging away, Darren. You know, that's what you have to do. Sometimes you think it's like Groundhog Day, but you have to keep on plugging away.